Welcome to Amazing Dinosaurs. Today we are checking out a collection of figures that I predict will be in the new upcoming Jurassic World Chaos Theory show. I bet we'll be seeing some returning dino species as well as some new ones. Plus, I've got some new figures from the new Epic Evolution collection that we'll be opening up. Let's start with some of the big figures. First off, I bet you will be seeing another T-Rex. Most likely Rexy the T-Rex. This is the Hammond Collection T-Rex and is one of the most detailed figures that I have. And you know, it'd be really cool if we saw an Indominus Rex figure in this Chaos Theory show. This Indominus Rex figure is even larger than my Hammond Collection T-Rex, and it has two buttons, one for slashing the arms and one for chomping the jaw. I've got a few more really cool T-Rex figures in here. This one is in the classic brown with a darker brown on top and has the button on the top of its head for the chomping. Check out that huge bite. Over here is a Scorpios Rex figure, and I think this would make a great villain dinosaur in the new show. This dinosaur figure has two action buttons, one to chomp its jaw and the other button to slash its arms. Next up is a Tarbosaurus figure. This is one crazy looking dinosaur with all these spikes on its back and then the bright red underneath its chin. It's a pretty cool chomping action too. Back here, we've got a Suchomimus figure. This figure is actually pretty large, and this is the blue and yellow version. And this version has one action button for chomping the jaw. Here's another giant T-Rex figure. This one is the Battle Damage edition, and you can see the battle damage hidden right there on the side. When I press this button at the top, it flips it so that the battle damage is revealed on both sides. Plus, the full body is posable. My next Chaos Theory prediction is a Dilophosaurus. This figure is the bright red basic version, so it's got the green and red frills that you can open and close, and the big yellow crown on the top of its head. This is a Cryolophosaurus figure. This version is the yellow and brown one. And with this figure, you can move the tail around to move the head in a super lifelike way. And I've also got the other version of the Cryolophosaurus. This is the dark blue with the white and a little bit of red on its back. And just like the yellow version that we just saw, you can move the tail to move the head around. I'd say it's a pretty good bet that the Atrociraptor dinosaur will be in the upcoming Chaos Theory show. We saw this species in the Jurassic World Dominion movie, so I think it's gonna come back. Up next, I've got a Baryonyx figure in here. This one is the gray with dark blue coloring and the bright blue on top, and it has the slide lever action for opening and closing its jaw with sound effects. Here's one of my favorite herbivores, the Stegosaurus. This figure is the dark gray-blue version. It has the pink underbelly and the hidden action button on its spine to move its tail back and forth. So you better watch out for those spikes. And here is our first flying dinosaur of this Chaos Theory predictions haul. This is a Pteranodon, and I believe that this one is from the Hammond Collection, so it actually has these rubbery wings, which make it look and feel a whole lot more lifelike. Next up is a Velociraptor figure. Now this is Velociraptor Blue, and I don't know that they'll be showing up in the Chaos Theory show, but I definitely think some Velociraptors will. My next prediction is a Carnotaurus. This is one of my favorite predator dinosaurs, and I'd be really excited if it was in the new Chaos Theory show. This is the Sound Surge edition, and there's a button on the side that you can press for the sound effects. I've got another Suchomimus figure in here. Earlier we saw the dark blue version, and this one is the bright yellow with the brown detailing. And this one actually has two buttons. The first button activates that same chomping action, and it has a second button to activate some tail swinging. Next is the ginormous Albertosaurus figure. And you know, I think this dinosaur looks pretty cool as well. It's got the green body with the orange stripe on the side. And with this figure, you can use the tail to move the head around and chomp its jaw. Next, why don't we open up one of the new figures? This is the Epic Evolution Strike Attack Velociraptor. This is a bright orange Velociraptor. It's got some brown detailing along its back and on its legs. And this figure has a spring-loaded slashing action. I actually have a few other Velociraptors that have this same torso twisting slash action. Overall, pretty cool. Not too much different compared to the older versions of these Velociraptor figures though. Next up is the Epic Evolution Strike Attack Guaibasaurus. And part of this new Epic Evolution series, you can see what type of environment that this dinosaur is in. And this one looks like it's a swamp type environment. This is a pretty cool looking dinosaur. It's pretty small, similar in size to the Velociraptor figure. Has some cool coloring too. I like this dark green. It's a very swampy color. And this figure has an attack action as well. When you press down on its body, it has a chomping action. That's pretty cool. It's cool little spikes on the top of its head too. Next up is a Quetzalcoatlus, which is actually a flying dinosaur. And this figure is huge. You probably recognize it from the Jurassic World Dominion movie, and I'm hoping that they bring it back for the Chaos Theory show. And this figure has two buttons. One flaps its wings up and down, and the other, underneath its body, opens and closes its jaw. Over here, I've got a Parasaurolophus figure. This one is in the yellow with some purple and reflective pink coloring, which I think is pretty cool. And on this figure, you can move the tail to move the head around. It's got some sound effects too. And actually, here is another Parasaurolophus figure, but this one is from the Hammond collection. So it's a little bit larger, and the detailing and the painting looks to be around the same quality, so there's not a whole lot more texturing or detailing on this figure. Here we've got a Triceratops, and I think this is the first Triceratops in this Chaos Theory predictions haul. This is the dark green version. It's got a bit of brown detailing along the top and on its frill, and it has two action buttons. One moves its head up and down for this stabbing action, and the other swings its tail back and forth. All right, here we've got the Allosaurus figure. This is another really cool looking predator figure. This version comes in the dark brown with the dark blue coloring along the top, and it has this slide lever action for the roaring and chomping. Here is another T-Rex. This one is quite a bit smaller than the ones that we saw at the beginning though. That's because this is the Sound Surge T-Rex, so it's got a single button on its back for the roar sound effects. Up next, I've got a Baryonyx here, and I think I've actually got another Baryonyx right back here. This first one, though, looks like it has some battle damage on its side. I think this one was released for Fallen Kingdom. And this figure is colored pretty similar to the Allosaurus that we just saw, with the dark brown on the sides and then the dark blue on the top. And it has a single action button for a chomping action. Here is another Allosaurus figure with totally different coloring. It's got the dark green over most of its body with the white and red detailing, and I love these little spikes that run all the way down its back and even a little bit on its tail. Plus, it's got a slide lever action for the chomping and sound effects. And here I've got another Scorpios Rex figure. This one is a bit smaller than the one that we saw a while ago, and it doesn't have any action buttons, but it is very posable with its arms, its legs, and its tail. Check out those quills on its tail too. And you can still manually open and close the mouth. Now here's a pretty special dinosaur figure. This is an Ankylosaurus figure, but this is from the first Jurassic World movie, so it has this special edition armor plating that you can take off to reveal the normal armor plating underneath. And here is a normal Ankylosaurus figure. This one's a bit more recent though, and it comes in the clay red coloring with the tan spikes and the brown shell. And this figure has a ton of armor all over its body. Check out that tail swinging action. And here is our smallest T-Rex figure yet. This version has the little battle damage on the side and the tail that controls the head and the jaw. Up next is an herbivore called the Pachycephalosaurus with the green and orange coloring. And it's got some battle damage right here on the side that you can press down to reveal the damage underneath. I've also got some Monolophosaurus figures in here, which I really hope show up in the Chaos Theory show. This first one is one of my favorites with the dark green, the yellow, and then the bright red along its head, and you can use the tail to chomp its jaw open and closed. There's also this dark blue Monolophosaurus, which looks really cool, although it doesn't have any action buttons. And then there's this bright green version that actually has some battle damage right on the side. We saw one Dilophosaurus figure earlier, and now here are two more, much smaller versions. This first one is a bright green with the frills that are red and yellow, and there's also this dark purple version that has red, yellow, and orange on its frills. And here are four more Velociraptor figures and my final Velociraptors in this Chaos Theory prediction video. I've got this green one that has a button on its back for slashing its arms up and down. Here's another Velociraptor blue, but this one has a battle damage button on its side. There's this darker blue Velociraptor that has some orange on its back and this really cool reflective gold on its head. And this Velociraptor is actually pretty special because it is from the Hammond collection. So it is much more flexible and posable compared to the other Velociraptor figures. Here is a Spinosaurus figure. This specific figure is actually from the first Jurassic World movie, so it's pretty old, but I love the coloring on this figure. And we've got a few more winged dinosaurs in here. This first one is another Pteranodon. It's got the gray with some purple coloring and a tiny little action button for flapping its wings. And then here's another winged dinosaur called the Dimorphodon, and it has pretty much identical coloring with the gray over most of its body and then some purple detailing in certain spots. And here is our only human figure in this haul. I'm sure you've seen it in the teaser that Darius is back. Next up, I've got a cute little Ankylosaurus, and this cute little dinosaur is called Bumpy, as I'm sure you remember. Next up is a bright red Minmi dinosaur. I really love all the spikes and armor plating over this dinosaur. And I've got a few Stygimoloch figures in here. This first one is like a dark brown coloring with some darker purple coloring along its body. And best of all, you can use its tail for the headbutting action. And here is Stygimoloch Stiggy. This figure has some similar coloring. It's a brighter orange-red coloring, and then the purple detailing and striping along its body. But on this smaller figure, there is no attack button, so you can't do the headbutting action on this one. I've also got a Gallimimus figure in here. This one's pretty cool with the soft green coloring, and then it has this really cool yellow and brown striping from its back all the way up to its head, and its head is almost entirely that bright yellow color. And last of all, what I really would like to see in Chaos Theory is a Therizinosaurus. Now, we saw this dinosaur in Jurassic World Dominion, and I don't really know that we'll be seeing it in this new show, but I still think it would be really cool. Let's start with the biggest one at the bottom here. This is the super colossal Indominus Rex. Let's open it up. This thing is already huge. Let's get those legs and tail on. Here is the fully assembled super colossal Indominus Rex. So first off, it has the typical coloring that the smaller Indominus Rexes have, but when you open up the mouth, you can see that there's a tunnel that goes all the way down into the stomach compartment right here. So you can actually feed this Indominus Rex miniature dinosaurs and then empty it out through the stomach right here. That is super cool. Plus, even though this thing is huge, it still is fully adjustable. Of course, you can adjust the jaw. You can also twist the neck. You can adjust the arms up and down. You can move the legs and ankles. And of course, you can move the tail. All in all, I'd say this dinosaur is probably around 2 feet tall and maybe 3 feet long. We've still got 2 brand new dinosaurs to open up. Let's start with the Albertosaurus. All right, so this is a medium-sized dinosaur. As you can see, it is a mostly green dinosaur, but it has those red striping on its side from the head all the way to its stomach on both sides. And there's an action button on the tail. If you press the button, it chomps the jaw. Plus, if you twist the tail, it moves its head back and forth like that. I have a few other Albertosauruses. Some of them even have battle damage on the side. This one does not, so this is just the normal primal attack Albertosaurus. Next up, we've got a feeding frenzy Indominus Rex. Let's open it up. All right, here is the feeding frenzy Indominus Rex. Let's check it out. So it has the same coloring as the huge one that we just saw, and it has this huge face and jaw too. This dinosaur comes with tons of sound effects, and it comes with this piece of meat. Let's see what happens when you feed it. So it's making some growling noises, and when it hits the trigger in there, its eyes start glowing too. That is pretty cool. And I love how big the teeth are on this dinosaur as well. Just look at that. Those are so huge. Right up top here, we've got another Indominus Rex. This one is still huge, not quite as huge as the super colossal one that we just opened up. And as you can see, it's colored kind of the same. It has some dark gray on the top and a lighter gray on the sides. It's got those orange eyes. And this dinosaur has 2 action buttons on it. First, you've got the tail button that activates the jaw. And then you've got a button on its back that activates the slashing action. All in all, this is a really cool Indominus Rex figure. Up next, we've got a giant Spinosaurus with dark green coloring on the sides. And on its spine, there's red, white, and a little bit of green at the bottom. Plus, this Spinosaurus is fully adjustable with the neck, the arms, the legs, and the tail. And of course, you can press the button on the top of its head to open its jaw. This is a super awesome figure and huge. Right up here, we've got a Tyrannosaurus Rex, but I believe that this one was custom colored. So you won't really see coloring like this on other T-Rexes that you can get. But look how cool it is. It's bright red, black on the top, and then the orange on the sides. It almost looks like the T-Rex is on fire. That is so awesome. Back here, we've got another T-Rex. This one is normal color. It's got brown on the sides, a darker brown on the top, and the tan belly. Plus, this dinosaur has a few action buttons as well. You can move the tail, and it moves its head around, which I really like. It's super realistic. And there's even a button on the tail that you can press to open its jaw. Back here, we've got another T-Rex, but this one is battle damage. Look at that right on the side. And pressing the button, you can turn it on and off. That is super awesome. And this T-Rex is fully adjustable with the legs, tail, neck, and the jaw as well. Back here, we've actually got another battle damage T-Rex, but this one is a bit different than the other one. Instead of having the thing on its side right here, you can see that there's a bunch of slashes all over its body, on the tail, on its legs, on its belly, and even on its face. And just like the other T-Rexes, this is fully adjustable. You can move the tail, the legs, the arms, the neck, and this one has a button at the top to make it roar. Here is another giant Spinosaurus with different coloring than the last one we saw. This one is mostly brown with the red detailing. You can see along its face it's got that bright red coloring as well as along its spine. And even on the top you can see that there's a lighter tan and then a dark brown color right along the top. That is super cool. Fully adjustable, and it has the button on the head that you can use to open its jaw. Up next, we've got the mighty Carcharodontosaurus. This dinosaur is a mostly tan yellow coloring, but you can see that there's orange and brown striping all the way up to its head. And this dinosaur has an action button as well. With the button on its back, you can do the chomping action. Here is the Tarbosaurus. This dinosaur has totally different coloring. It is a dark gray color with black stripes all along its body. It's got those spikes all along its spine, and right on its chin and on its neck is a bright red color. This dinosaur is fully adjustable with its arms, legs, tail. The tail actually controls the head, and the button on the tail controls the jaw as well. Here's another fierce predator. This is an Allosaurus. It's a dark green color with red and white speckles on its neck and face. And it is fully adjustable, and it's got this slide action. That is super awesome. Right over here, we've got the great Metriocanthosaurus. I think that's how you pronounce it. This is a yellow-green color on the sides. It's got the green coloring on top with the action button that controls its jaw. And it is fully adjustable in the legs and arms as well. Right over here, we've actually got a few Baryonyxes with totally different coloring. This first one, gray coloring with blue and a bright blue on the top, and it has a slide action for its roars. This second Baryonyx is brown colored, and it has blue detailing on the top and a bright orange top of the head. And the action button on this dinosaur activates the jaw. All right, here's another massive predator. This is a Carnotaurus. This dinosaur can be controlled by its tail. When you move its tail, it moves its head around. There's also a button on the tail to activate the jaw. And I love the coloring on this. This is like a dark brown red color with speckles of like a gray color as well. So it's quite detailed and fully adjustable as usual too. Right over here, we've got a super long-nosed dinosaur. This is the Sarcophagus. This is a clay red color on the top. Look at all those spikes along the top of its body. And along the bottom is a dark green color. But I love the detail of all those spikes along its back. That really gives it a strong texture. That's really cool. And the tail, of course, controls the head, so you can move the head around. Right back here, we've got a winged dinosaur. I'm sure you recognize this from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. This is the Quetzalcoatlus, and it has two action buttons. The first on the top flaps its wings, and there's actually one on the bottom that controls the mouth. Oh, here's a dinosaur you don't see too much of. This is a Ceratosaurus. This dinosaur is gray with splotches of dark brown, and of course the red back and the super bright red face with the white horn on the very top. This dinosaur has an action button on its back that controls its jaw, and the rest of its body is fully adjustable. Right back here is another Sarcophagus, but this one has totally different coloring. It's got the blue bottom, the dark purple top, same spines though, and then it's got orange and red splotches all over its back. That is super cool. Here is another unusual predator. This is the Majungasaurus. This dinosaur is pretty brightly colored. Although it's mostly green in the back, it has those bright yellow coloring right along its back and that bright blue color right on its neck and on its head. And this figure has quite a lot of sound effects, as you can hear. The tail also moves the head around so you can make it look super realistic. All right, this is another super noisy dinosaur. This is the Cryolophosaurus. This figure is dark blue around most of its body, and it's got the orange head and neck as well. I love that accent. And with this tail, you can adjust the head and wiggle it around. How cool is that? All right, here is a full-sized Allosaurus. I love the coloring on this dinosaur. It's got the tan yellow bottom and the bright blue top. That is so cool. I think we've actually got two Allosauruses here, both with different coloring. So let's check this one out first. This one has two action buttons on the top. The first controls its jaw, and the second button controls its arms. How cool is that? The legs are fully adjustable, and the tail you can twist as well. The second Allosaurus is mostly gray with the yellow splotches all along the top of its body. And this has one action button on its back where you press it and it controls the jaw. Right over here, we've got a brightly colored Suchomimus. This is a bright yellow with brown along its spine, and this dinosaur has a few action buttons. The first controls its neck and jaw, and the second controls its tail. Plus, the rest of the figure is fully adjustable as well. Oh, here's actually a second Suchomimus with totally different coloring. This one is mostly blue along the entire body, but it's got the yellow detailing along its spine as well as those splotches. And this Suchomimus has one action on its back. When you press it down, it does a chomping action. All right, here's another Baryonyx with different coloring. This Baryonyx is light brown on the sides and the belly, and on the top has a dark blue coloring all along its back to the tail and to the head. But the coolest part of the coloring is this super reflective blue coloring right on its head. This Baryonyx is fully adjustable, and it has one action button for its jaw. Here is another Cryolophosaurus. This one is differently colored than the last one that we saw. It's mostly yellow with the brown on the top and of course the bright orange crown on its head. This dinosaur is fully adjustable. You can move the tail to adjust the head. And of course, as you can hear, it comes with tons of sound effects. Here is another Metriacanthosaurus. But once again, different coloring than the last one we saw. This one is a bright red color with brown detailing all along its back. And on the head, you can see that it's got that bright orange and yellow coloring. There is one action button on this dinosaur, and that controls the jaw. Up next, we've got another Carcharodontosaurus. Check out the coloring on this one. This is a bright blue coloring, and it's got the brown and orange specks on its back and neck, and right around its eye as well. This dinosaur is fully adjustable with legs, arms, and tail, and there's one action button on its back that when you press, it does a chomping action. All right. We've got another Baryonyx right here. This one is bright green with brown on the top. And as usual, the arms and legs are fully adjustable, and there is one action button on the top that controls its jaw. All right, check this one out. I remember this from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. This is a Dimetrodon. And look at that huge spine on its back. It's red with yellow speckles all over it. And with this dinosaur figure, when you wiggle the tail back and forth, it opens and closes its jaw. All right, I see a ton of velociraptors in here. Let's pull a few out. This velociraptor is a green color with a darker green along the top and is fully adjustable. Even with the mouth, you can open and close. The second velociraptor is different coloring. This is a blue along most of its body. It's got the tan bottom, but the coolest part of all, it's got the yellow along the top and a shining gold along its head. It's actually reflective, which is super cool. And this velociraptor is mostly tan. You can see it along the bottom and the sides with the brown top, but most importantly, this velociraptor has a slashing action. It is spring-loaded, so you can actually twist its torso back and forth, and it'll do this slashing action. All right over here, we've got a baby T-Rex with a jaw-chomping action, brightly green colored, and fully adjustable. And this is a Dilophosaurus. It is mostly gray colored with darker gray along the top, but this Dilophosaurus actually has an action. When you move the tail, it activates its frills. That's so cool. We've still got more velociraptors in here. Let's check them out. Here are 4 velociraptors. The first is an orangish velociraptor, and it has the slashing action. The next velociraptor is a bright red color with green striping on the top. Look at how bright this velociraptor is, and it is fully adjustable. The next velociraptor is a classic one. This is blue, and it comes with battle damage on the side as well. And this velociraptor is more of a yellow coloring with brown on the top. This one also comes with battle damage on the side as well. All All right, just a few dinosaurs left. This is a Herrerasaurus. It is all green and it has different shades of green all along its body. And it is fully adjustable with the mouth, the neck, the arms, and the legs. Over here, we've got a weird looking dinosaur. This is the Shringosaurus. Look at those huge horns on its head, and the brown coloring on the top and the yellow on the sides. This is quite the odd looking dinosaur. At least I think so. And our last two dinosaurs of this collection. First, we've got the Great Dimorphodon. This is mostly a gray color with a dark red along the bottom of its wings, but it's still fully adjustable with its legs, its mouth, its neck, and its wings. And this Velociraptor is a dark gray color with yellow detailing right along the top of it, and is fully adjustable as well. First, let's check out this huge Indominus Rex figure. I think this figure is the largest Predator figure that I have aside from the super colossal figures. This figure has the typical Indominus Rex coloring that you see in the movies. It's got the gray all over its body with some brown detailing on the top and around its eyes too. And it comes with action buttons, one for the arms and one for the jaw. I believe this figure is the epic Roarin' T-Rex. This figure has some of my favorite coloring and detailing along its whole body, and my favorite part is that you can use the tail to twist its neck and to move it up and down, and a button to control its jaw to make it look really lifelike. Hiding back here, we've got a huge Spinosaurus figure. This is almost as big as the Indominus Rex figure, but I think a little bit smaller. Still really epic though. It's got the tan body with the red spine and a narrow and very long snout. Over here, we've got another T-Rex figure, but this one is different. It is the Extreme Battle Damage T-Rex. It's got totally different coloring with the gray detailing on the top and the light underbelly and brown on the sides. And of course, it's got the special ability that you can turn the battle damage on and off with the click of a button. Plus, with this figure, there's no button to control the jaw, but you can actually just open its mouth and keep it open for posing. Before we keep going with this bin, I've actually got some brand new ones from Camp Cretaceous that we're gonna open up and check out. This first one is the Scorpios Rex Danger Pack. First, let's check out the Scorpios Rex figure. This has some similar coloring as the other Scorpios Rex figures that I have. You'll see later on in the video, but it is actually a dark green. The other Scorpios Rex figures I have are just black. It's got the yellow underbelly, of course, and the poisonous quills on its tail. And there's no action button, but it is pretty adjustable. You can move its legs and its arms. You can adjust its neck, and of course, open and close the mouth. And those are some pretty crazy looking teeth too. And the other two pieces that come in the set are Kenji in the blue sweater and the sphere that they can ride in. You can actually plop them down in there. It secures them in so they won't go flying around. Then you can close it up. Bingo! And then even as it spins, they stay upright. So you can actually roll this thing around and have the Scorpios Rex chase after it. How cool is that? It's a full playset. Here is another brand new Camp Cretaceous figure that I'm adding to my collection. This is Velociraptor Delta. This figure is the exact same size as many of the other Camp Cretaceous and Jurassic World Velociraptor figures. It's got some pretty cool coloring. It's like a dark green-blue with the black stripes on top. And this figure actually comes with a special feature. There is a button on its back that you can use for slashing. Next up, we've got the Carnotaurus figure. Comes with sound effects as well as you can hear. It's got the dark brown body with some black detailing along the top, a super bumpy texture along its skin, two big horns, it's got some yellow eyes, a huge set of teeth, and the action button to control the head. Next up, we've got a Ceratosaurus figure. This figure has a gray-brown body. It's got some darker brown detailing, and of course the bright red along its back and its head. It's got the white horn and an action button to control the jaw. Way down here, we've got another Scorpios Rex figure. This figure is larger than the one that I just opened up, and as you can see, it does have the darker body. It is not dark green, but instead is like a very dark blue and black along the top. Plus, this figure does have action buttons. The first button on its back controls the jaw, and the second button on its back controls the arms. Plus, the tail is actually spring-loaded, so you can swing it back and forth for hitting other dinosaurs. This is an Albertosaurus. It's got the dark green body with the orange detailing all the way up to its head. You can move its arms, you can move its legs, and its tail swivels back and forth to swivel the head. Next up is a big old Baryonyx figure. This figure is mostly green. It's got some darker green along its back and some brown that goes all the way up to its head. And it's got a slide lever action to control the jaw and sound effects. This is a Cryolophosaurus figure. It is dark blue with red and orange detailing along its neck and head. You can manually open and close the mouth, and the rest of its body parts are movable as well. And the tail actually controls the head. This is a Carcharodontosaurus. It's got the tan body with orange and brown detailing, and it's a pretty big figure and pretty adjustable. You can move the arms, legs, and tail, and it's got an action button on its back to control the chomping. This is a Sarcophagus figure. It looks quite a bit like an alligator, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're related, but it's got some much more interesting coloring than most alligators. It's got a light blue-gray body with some purple along the top and some orange and red detailing on the side. And look at all those spikes that line its back, from the top all the way to the bottom of its tail. And with this figure, you can use the tail to move its head around in a super realistic way. Here is an Allosaurus figure. These are some pretty epic looking dinosaur figures. It's got the tan body with two tones of blue, light blue on the face and back, and dark blue along the bottom of its back and its legs too. This figure is fully posable. You can move it around and adjust its arms, and it actually comes with two action buttons. One to control the jaw, and one to control the arms. Next up is another Baryonyx figure with different coloring. It has the green body once again. It's got some lighter coloring along the bottom of its neck, and two different tones of brown on its back. You can see the light brown along the bottom and the dark brown along its neck. And once again, light brown on the top of its head that encapsulate its yellow eyes. And let's not forget the button on its back to control the jaw. Plus, the rest of its limbs are adjustable and posable as well. This is a Monolophosaurus with the dark green-brown coloring and the yellow detailing all along its back and the orange detailing right along its nose and head. And let's check out those green eyes too. It's got some tiny little eyes. And with this figure, you can actually use the tail to open and close its jaw. Here is a Velociraptor figure. I think this might be Velociraptor Charlie. I can't remember, I get confused. But it's got the green body with the darker green detailing along its back and its head. It's got the yellow eyes. You can manually open and close the jaw, and the rest of its limbs are posable and movable too. Here is another Monolophosaurus figure. It is a very dark blue color. It's got some tan detailing along its back that goes all the way up to its head. This figure also has some yellow eyes and a huge set of teeth, and its whole body is fully posable as well. You can move its neck, you can move it side to side, you can move the arms, legs, and tail too. I've got a few Dimorphodon figures in here too. This first one is a dark green. It has some red and yellow detailing along the bottom of its wings. I've also got a bright red Dimorphodon with some fiery detailing along the bottom of its wings, which is pretty cool. This is probably my favorite Dimorphodon figure. And I've also got this gray Dimorphodon with a little bit of darker coloring along its back and the maroon or purple detailing along the bottom of its wings. This is a water dinosaur, and if I remember correctly, it is a Plesiosaurus. It's got a pretty adjustable body. You can move the neck up and down, as well as up here. You can open and close the mouth. Check out all those teeth. And it's got an action button on its back to move its flippers. Check out this next Monolophosaurus figure. It has some light brown coloring along most of its body. It's got the gray feet, which is a cool feature, as well as the gray detailing along its back, neck, and the top of its head. And it's got those huge set of teeth once again. Of course, we can't forget Velociraptor Blue with the iconic blue stripe down both sides of its body. This figure is fully posable as well. You can move the legs, the arms, and even open and close the jaw. Here is a Dilophosaurus figure. It is a light gray color. It's got some red detailing along its frills and on the crown on the top of its head. And the best part is that the tail actually opens its jaw and its frills. That's really cool. Next up, I believe this is called a Proceratosaurus figure. It's got a blue and brown body and some bright orange coloring right along the top of its eye. This figure is fully posable as well. You can move the arms, the legs, you can twist the tail, and of course open and close the jaw manually. This is a Coeluris figure. It stands on 2 feet but looks quite a bit different from most of the other figures that I have. It has the tan and brown body. It's got some awesome blue detailing along the top of its head. You can manually open and close the jaw, and it is fully posable with the arms, legs, and tail as well. Like this Spinosaurus figure. It's got a button at the top of its head that you can use to open and close its mouth. And it's got huge front arms and even bigger back legs. Camp Cretaceous also gave us this epic roaring T-Rex, which is one of my favorite. It's got the classic coloring, and you can use the tail to open and close the jaws as well as move the neck around. They also released the extreme battle damage T-Rex for Camp Cretaceous. This one has the brown coloring with some gray on the top and the battle damage that you can turn on and off from both sides. There's also this huge Scorpios Rex figure that I'm sure you recognize from Camp Cretaceous. And this is actually a pretty sizable dinosaur figure, and it's got 2 action buttons on its back. One for roaring, and check out those teeth, how they fit in all together even when its mouth closes. I think that's a really cool feature. And there's also another button for slashing. This Stegosaurus came as part of a camp adventure set, so there's a few other pieces in it, but this was the biggest one in it. It's got the gray-blue coloring, the pink body, and it's got an action button. When you press down here, it swings its tail back and forth with those huge spikes on the end. Next up, we've got the Primal Attack Carnotaurus Toro with the darker brown coloring. It's got a little bit of that battle damage on its face, and you can use the tail to move the head around and open and close the jaws. Over here, we've got the Ouranosaurus figure. It's got the green body with some brighter details along its face, as well as on its spine too. It's a pretty unusual looking dinosaur, and it's got a slide lever action to move the head up and down and give sound effects too. Next up for Camp Cretaceous Season 5 is the Soundstrike Cryolophosaurus figure. I believe there's 2 versions of the Cryolophosaurus. This one is the dark blue. It has some white and red detailing along its body, and it has some pretty unique sound effects too. That's pretty cool. It almost sounds like a snake or something like that. This next figure is also from the Soundstrike series. This is the Parasaurolophus. It's got the yellow body and some really cool reflective pink coloring along its back and its legs too. And you can use its tail, just like many of the other figures, to control its face. Next up, also from the Soundstrike series of Camp Cretaceous, is this Sinoceratops figure. It's got a mostly gray body and some yellow and tan detailing all along its top and especially on the front too. And actually, here's another Sinoceratops figure, but this one is the green color. It's also got some tan and orange-brown coloring along the top as well. And you can use the tail to control the head. And check out the size of that front horn too. I think that's a lot larger than a Triceratops horn. Next up from Camp Cretaceous is this blue, orange, and purple Sarcosuchus dinosaur. This is a very short dinosaur. It's really close to the ground, but it's quite a bit longer than a lot of other dinosaurs as well. And it's got this really long and narrow snout with tons of teeth of different sizes in it. And with this figure, you can use the tail to open and close the mouth, as well as twist its head back and forth and up and down. Over here, we've got Ankylosaurus bumpy. This is a pretty brightly colored dinosaur. It's got tons of spikes right along the sides and a bunch of armor on the top, and the slide lever action to swing the tail back and forth with sound effects. I've also got a smaller Ankylosaurus bumpy figure right here. This is kind of like the baby version. It looks a lot younger. It's got basically identical coloring, although you'll notice that this figure does not have the huge spikes coming out of its sides right there. Here is the Soundstrike Pteranodon figure. It is over 1 foot from wingtip to wingtip. It's a orange-brown color. It's got some darker detailing along its wings and some brighter orange right on the top of its face and on its horn as well. And it comes with 2 action buttons. The first flaps its wings, and it's got the sound effects. And the second button activates its mouth, and you can open and close it. Check out all those tiny, tiny little teeth. Here's also a smaller Pteranodon figure. It's got some brighter detailing along its wings and some tan along its face. You can open and close its mouth manually as well, and a single button on its back to flap its wings. Here is a Stygimoloch figure in the orange-brown coloring. It's got some darker detailing with little splotches along its back, and the very top of its head is a whitish color. And of course, it's got those huge spikes right behind its head as well. Here's a Monolophosaurus figure with the dark green coloring along most of its body. It's got some yellow coloring right along its back, and then the bright red along its face. Check out those tiny green eyes too. This aquatic dinosaur is a Plesiosaurus. It's dark blue on top and gray on the bottom, and there's 1 action button on its back to make its flippers move. Here is another winged dinosaur. This is a Dimorphodon. It's got some super bright coloring along the bottom of its wings, and it's got quite a large face and mouth too. This next figure is Velociraptor Charlie with the camo green coloring. It's got some darker green striping along the top. It's pretty detailed, and it's got that single action button on its back to move its claws back and forth. This next figure is the Coelurus dinosaur. It's a lot smaller and has a brighter body and some darker blue detailing along the top of its head. And finally, this is the Proceratosaurus figure. It's got a dark blue body with some brown and orange right along the top of its head. Let's get started with these brand new ones that I just bought. Let's start with the Tyrannosaurus Rex. All right, so here's the Tyrannosaurus Rex with battle damage. That is pretty cool that it flips open and closed so easily. The rest of this T-Rex has a brown body with black detailing on the top, and the neck and head is fully posable too. Next up, we've got the Camp Cretaceous Mosasaurus. Let's open it up and check it out. All right, so here is the fully assembled giant Mosasaurus. It's got an opening jaw, and all the tails are adjustable. Top of its body is a dark blue-purple color, and its underbelly is a gray color. Check out those blue eyes too. Next up, we've got the giant Giganotosaurus. Check out the spikes on this dinosaur right at the top. That is a massive spine. It's dinosaur has some huge teeth, and like many of the super colossal figures, you can actually feed it small dinosaurs and then empty it out in the stomach compartment. Over here on the other side, we've got another super colossal dinosaur. This is the T-Rex. This has a darker body than most of my T-Rex figures. It still has the white underbelly, and just like the Giganotosaurus, can open it up, feed it miniature dinosaurs all the way down, and open it up in the stomach compartment. Next up, we've got a giant Brachiosaurus. And it's pretty detailed, even though it's a huge dinosaur figure. You can adjust all the legs, to move the neck up and down. So it's a pretty cool figure, and it's ginormous. Probably stands about 3 feet tall. Next up, another huge dinosaur is the Apatosaurus. Check out this green body with the lighter green striping on the top. Can open and close the mouth and rotate the head too. Next up, we've got a huge T-Rex that's over a foot long from tail to the head. This T-Rex has a dark brown body, a yellow underbelly, and gray detailing all over the top of its body, plus an action button for roaring. Right over here, we've got another T-Rex with camouflage custom coloring. This dinosaur looks really cool. I love the coloring on this. And with the tail, you can control the face and the roaring too. Right over here, we've got an Indominus Rex with battle damage. Let's check that out. That is really cool. Again, I really like how you can flip that on and off super easily. Rest of this dinosaur is all gray, super textured and bumpy all over its body, and it has an action button to operate the jaw. Next up, we've got an evil looking Scorpios Rex. It's got the quills on its tail, spring loaded so you can flick the tail back and forth. It's got those huge claws on its feet too. This is one mean looking dinosaur. Right up top here, we've got another Mosasaurus. So we've got twin Mosasauruses in my collection now. You can see that it's speckled white all along its back with the dark blue and the gray underbelly as well. And the tail moves too. Here is a Tyrannosaurus Rex with a darker body, just like the super colossal one that we saw earlier. The head on this T-Rex is ginormous too, a lot bigger than the other T-Rexes that I have. Over here, we've got a custom colored Indominus Rex. This one's got blue, it's got purple, it's got orange, and it's got black. And it's got some green eyes too. And just like many of the other Indominus Rex figures, this has a slashing action and a roar button too. We got a ton of T-Rexes in here. Check out this gray-brown one that is fully adjustable and fully posable. We've also got some more battle damage T-Rexes. All those teeth, fully posable and fully adjustable legs, arms, and tail. Up front here, we've got another T-Rex, but with different coloring. This is like a brown-orange color and a darker brown on top. Once again, this T-Rex is also fully adjustable, can pose the neck, and it's got a button at the top of its head to control the jaw. Here is another orange-brown Tyrannosaurus Rex, but as you probably already noticed, this one has battle damage all over it, and it doesn't have the little button to click it back and forth. It's just painted on its body. Here is a normal colored Indominus Rex without the battle damage. This Indominus Rex has a gray body. It's a little bit darker on the top. It's got those spikes right around the head, and then it's got darker coloring right around its eyes too. Here is another Mosasaurus. This one has different coloring than the other ones that we've seen in this collection so far. It's a lighter blue coloring on the sides. Still got the dark gray top. No white speckles on this one though. And just like the other Mosasauruses, it has a movable jaw, can adjust the fins, but on this one, the tail actually doesn't move at all. Next up, another T-Rex. Light brown coloring on the side, darker brown on the top, and a yellow underbelly. And this T-Rex has the tail that also controls the head. Here is our first Spinosaurus of this collection. This Spinosaurus is light tan on the side, the movable tail, legs, ankles, arms, neck, and the jaw as well. Over on this side, we've got a big old Carnotaurus. It's got a gray underbelly and clay red sides and a darker brown top. Look at all those bumps and spikes along its body, and the two horns up top too. Here we've got a T-Rex, but this one is crazy custom colored. Look at the bright red on this body. You wouldn't see this coloring out in the wild, but it sure makes for an awesome collectible. Here is a big old Stegosaurus with gray-blue coloring on the sides and a darker gray along the top with a pink underbelly. And this dinosaur, like all the others, is super textured. You can see it's got super bumpy skin everywhere. Here is an Allosaurus with a dark green body and gray and red detailing right along its neck. See that set of teeth too, and those red eyes. That's really cool. Depending on how much you slide this open, it'll either growl or it'll roar full on. This is another Allosaurus, but with totally different features. This has a tan body with blue on the top and a brighter blue right along the head. And it's got two action buttons. That one controls the jaw and the other controls the arms. Look at that blue tongue too. How unusual. Right in the back here, we've got a tan dinosaur. This is a Carcharodontosaurus. It's got the brown and yellow detailing with the bumps right along its spine all the way to its tail. This Carcharodontosaurus also has quite a set of teeth too. Here is a dark red dinosaur with a white underbelly. This is a Carnotaurus, and this dinosaur has a chomping action. Check out those two iconic horns right at the top of the head too. This big old dinosaur is a Suchomimus. It's got a blue body with a darker blue legs and a yellow top. Look at that, that goes all the way down the spine to the tail. Plus, this Suchomimus has a chomping action. Look at those huge rows of teeth too. And that red tongue. Up next, we've got a big old Stegosaurus again, but with different coloring. This is a dark green along the sides. It's got tan and brown that leads to the underbelly. And this Stegosaurus has a swinging action for its tail. Let's check that out. That's pretty cool. This is a little bit smaller, but it's still a pretty big dinosaur. It's a Ceratosaurus with dark green coloring, and it's got the slide action for different sound effects. That is really cool. Oh, you know what? Back here is another Ceratosaurus. This one though is gray with brown spots and red right on the top and a super bright red face. Let's see what this dinosaur can do. This big old super bright dinosaur is a Metriacanthosaurus. It's even got some bright yellow orange right on the top of its head. This gray dinosaur is an Allosaurus. It's got that yellow detailing from the tail all the way to the top of the head. Look at those interesting things right above its eyes. It's kind of like eyebrows in a way. And our last dinosaur is the good old Albertosaurus with battle damage. You can see it's got the slash on its leg, and it's also got a squishy stomach, ribs that you can pull down, and then skin that covers it all. first giant figure from right in the center of the bin is the Jurassic World Dominion Giganotosaurus. This is a pretty large figure. It's got the soft green body with the black detailing all over the top. It's got that huge spine on its back as well. And this figure has some features as well. It has a chopping action, and it has a torso spinning action. This big figure is the Camp Cretaceous Extreme Damage T-Rex. This figure has posable arms, legs, tail, and a neck that you can move in all directions. And you can open its mouth for posing. And most importantly, it's got the extreme battle damage on the side that you can turn on and off. This next figure is the Jurassic World Dominion Therizinosaurus. This is a pretty big figure as well. It's got a dark body with the red stripe all the way to the top of its head, and it's got a few action buttons. You can use the tail to control the neck, and there's a button for chomping as well. I've also got some brand new figures from both Camp Cretaceous and Jurassic World Dominion. So let's open these up next. This is the Camp Cretaceous Soundstrike Sinoceratops. It's got the all gray body. So let's open it up and check it out. You can see it's got bumps and texturing all over its body, and it's not all the same everywhere. You can even see a little bit of its ribs right there too. Interestingly, it's got all black eyes, and it's got some yellow and orange detailing on the top of its head right there. And you can use the tail to control the head. This is the Jurassic World Dominion Massive Action Siamosaurus, or at least I think that's how you say it. Let's open it up. This is a pretty unique looking dinosaur. It looks like it walks on all fours. It has a huge red spine on its back. It's got some interesting coloring along its body. It's mostly black, but then it has these white splotches all over. And this figure has a couple actions too. First, you can use the tail to swing the head up and down and all around. And there's a button on its tail as well to control the chomping. Next up is the Jurassic World Dominion Roar Strikers Rajasaurus. This is pretty cool. I actually have one Rajasaurus that we'll see later on in this bin, but this one has entirely different coloring. It is a dark blue color. It's got some lighter coloring along the bottom of its neck and its chin. It's got the iconic spines along the top of its neck. And of course, it has the action for when you press down on its body. It's got some chomping action. This is the Camp Cretaceous Dino Escape 3-pack. It comes with a Tyrannosaurus Rex, Darius, and Velociraptor Blue. So let's open it up and check it out. First up, we've got the giant T-Rex figure. This is the light gray brown T-Rex. It's got the darker brown along the top, and it's got the button on the top of its head for the chomping and roaring. Here we've got the Darius figure with the yellow jacket and blue pants, and it doesn't come with any accessories for him, but he does have a necklace. And finally, in the 3-pack is the iconic Velociraptor Blue figure. This is pretty similar to some other figures that I already have. This is the Jurassic World Dominion Ankylosaurus. It's got this super long neck with the clay red coloring and the brown top with tons of spikes all over its body. It's also got a few action buttons as well. Here is the Camp Cretaceous Carnotaurus figure. This figure is almost as big as many of the T-Rex figures that you'll see. It's got the dark brown red coloring all over its body and some darker detailing along the top. It's got the iconic battle damage right on its nose. It's got the horns on its head as well, and it has some action features as well. Over here is another Sinoceratops figure from Camp Cretaceous. But as you can see, this one has totally different coloring. It is a soft green color over most of its body, and it's got some tan detailing along the top of its back and some unique coloring right on the top as well. And this figure has yellow eyes instead of those black eyes. And with this figure as well, you can use the tail to control the head. This is one of my favorite Camp Cretaceous figures. This is the T-Rex from Camp Cretaceous. And it's my favorite because it's one of the largest T-Rexes that I have. It has some awesome coloring, and it has the tail and button on the tail that you can use to control the neck and the jaw. And I just love how realistic you can make this figure look just by moving the tail around. We've got another Camp Cretaceous figure here. This is the Spinosaurus. It's got the light tan coloring along most of its body. It's got some brighter coloring along the bottom of its neck, but most importantly, it's got the red along the spine and at the top of its head too. Plus, it's got those dark orange eyes, which is a pretty cool feature. And this figure is pretty adjustable as well. You can move the arms, the legs, the tail, you can move the neck around, and of course, there's a button at the top of its head for chomping. And check out all those teeth too. I really like how narrow the Spinosaurus's mouth is. We've got another super large T-Rex figure in here. This is from Jurassic World Dominion. It has much darker coloring with the black on top and the dark brown on bottom with a lighter underbelly. This T-Rex has a much bigger jaw and neck than what you'll see in many of the other Camp Cretaceous T-Rexes, and it comes with some actions as well. You can use the tail to swing the torso back and forth, and it has a button to activate the jaw. Look at that, it's even got some room in its mouth that you could probably fit a few miniature dinosaurs in there. Here we've got a few Baryonyx figures from Camp Cretaceous. They're both green and brown in color, but they're not quite the same. This one is a darker green, has 2 tones of brown along the top. It's got the action button on its back to activate the jaw. This one is a much lighter green. It's almost like a mustard, yellow, and green color, and it has brown on the top and a darker green along the back. And this figure has a slide lever action to activate the jaw and sound effects. This figure is the Yangchuanosaurus from Jurassic World Dominion. It's got a soft green body with the yellow underbelly and the brown detailing along the top, and it's got the orange crown on the top of its head. This figure is pretty adjustable. You can move the arms and the legs. You can use the legs to actually position the neck up and down. And you can use the tail to swing the torso back and forth, and a button on its tail to use the jaw. This is a Camp Cretaceous Triceratops. It's got the brown coloring along most of its body, 2 tones of blue along the top and along the front as well. It's got some sound effects, and just like the Sinoceratops, when you move the tail, you can control the head. Next up, we've got the Camp Cretaceous Parasaurolophus figure with yellow coloring along most of its body. It's got some dark purple and then some bright reflective like purple pink coloring along its leg and its back. And it's got the iconic horn at the top of its head too. And with this figure, you can use the tail to control the head just like many of the other Camp Cretaceous figures. This is the Jurassic World Dominion Sound Surge T-Rex. This T-Rex is a lot smaller compared to many of the other T-Rex figures that I have. It's got the same type of coloring, brown along most of its body, with gray detailing along its neck. But the most important part about this figure is the sound effects it comes with. And as the final feature, you can open and close the mouth manually. You'll see that the teeth or the tongue is not painted though. This Camp Cretaceous figure, I believe, is the Extreme Chompin' Indominus Rex. It's a smaller looking figure with a huge head and huge eyes, and it comes with a few features. There's a button at the top of its head to activate some sound effects, and when it's dark you can see its eyes glow. And you can use the tail to open the jaw, and when you press on the tongue, it'll close it. Over here, we've got the Camp Cretaceous Cryolophosaurus. This Cryolophosaurus has the dark blue coloring with the white and red detailing along its body. I do have a yellow Cryolophosaurus as well, but I think this was the only one from the Camp Cretaceous toy line. And as you can hear, it's got some sound effects, and you can use the tail to control the head. Next up is the Jurassic World Dominion Rajasaurus. This figure has brown coloring. We saw the one earlier that had the dark blue coloring. It's got the same spine and the horn, but yeah, this one is a light brown color with some dark blue detailing along the top of its back and its neck. And of course, it still has the same action for when you press down on its body, it chomps. Next up, we've got the Jurassic World Dominion Sound Surge Giganotosaurus. This is a smaller Giganotosaurus figure, but it still has the iconic spine and the same coloring as many of the other figures. You can open and close the mouth manually, and the most important part is that it's got some sound effects built in. Next, we've got the Camp Cretaceous Ceratosaurus. This dinosaur figure has the iconic white horn at the top of its nose. It's got the red detailing and the brown detailing along its back and neck, and the rest of its body is a light gray color. And it's got one action button on its back to activate the jaw. This Jurassic World Dominion figure is the Ankylosaurus. It's got the clay red body with the brown top and lighter spikes, and it's got an action that when you press down on its body, it swings the tail back and forth with sound effects. Next up, we've got a figure that I bought pretty recently. This is the Jurassic World Dominion Megaraptor. It's got some pretty cool coloring. The entire back of its body is a bright red color, and the front is this darker gray-blue color. It's got some white detailing along its nose. And just like the Rajasaurus figures, this has an action that when you press down on its body, it chomps. I believe this one is the Jurassic World Dominion Iguanodon. It's got a light tan body with some detailing along the top, and when you press down on this body, it moves its head up and down. Right over here, we've got some smaller Camp Cretaceous figures. First, we've got this bright red and green Velociraptor with spring-loaded legs, so you can actually launch them into the air. We've also got two different colored Stygimolochs. This first one is dark brown with some purple detailing along the top. This one is a lighter blue color, and it's got some purple detailing around its face and its neck. And of course, both of them have the head ramming action when you press down on their tail. And of course, we've got another Camp Cretaceous Velociraptor blue figure. I've got a couple Jurassic World Dominion figures with extreme battle damage. This first one is the Dimetrodon with the battle damage on its side that you can turn on and off by pressing this button. And there's also this yellow and dark blue Velociraptor with the battle damage that you can turn on and off with this button up top. We've got some more smaller figures in here. This first one is the Camp Cretaceous Monolophosaurus. It has a dark green body. It's got some yellow detailing along the top and some red right at the top of its head. This next Camp Cretaceous figure is the Proceratosaurus figure. It has a dark blue body with some orange and brown detailing along the top of its head. And this figure is from Jurassic World Dominion. This is the Moros Intrepidus. It has a soft green body and orange from the tail down this line on its side, as well as around its eyes too. And here are our final three figures in this bin, all from Jurassic World Dominion. First, we've got a tan Atrociraptor in the crawling pose. This is the Maragaya figure with the huge spikes on its shoulders. And inside this container, what could it be? All right, it is another Atrociraptor figure. This is the white and brown Atrociraptor. And despite how small this figure is, it is pretty adjustable. And you can even twist the neck around too. This first one is the super colossal Indominus Rex figure. This figure features some really cool looking teeth. It's got huge claws on its hands. It's got some cool detailing along its whole body, a ton of spikes along its back as well. This one is definitely the biggest, and we're gonna put this right here in the Camp Cretaceous line. The next largest is also from Camp Cretaceous actually. This is Carnotaurus Toro. This is the super colossal figure. And this figure features the classic clay and brown coloring along the body, along with the battle damage right along its nose, and the two massive horns as well. Let's put this right next to the Indominus Rex on the Camp Cretaceous line. Unfortunately, Fallen Kingdom does not have any super colossal figures, but we'll get started with the biggest figures that I do have from Fallen Kingdom. This first one is a giant T-Rex, and this one features some pretty cool attack moves. If you move its tail, it lifts its head up for a roar, and if you move the tail downwards, it actually chomps it towards the ground. Plus, you can move it side to side to swivel the head too. So we're gonna put this first Fallen Kingdom dinosaur right here. All of our Fallen Kingdom dinosaurs will go along the front right here, and Camp Cretaceous will go along the back. Let's go ahead and grab another Fallen Kingdom dinosaur. This is another T-Rex, but this is the Battle Damage edition. You can see it has a lot of the same coloring along most of its body as the first T-Rex, but it's got some really cool battle damage coloring. You can see some slashes on its neck, on its chin, and all over its body. And it is a little bit smaller than the first T-Rex, so let's set him down right next to it. Moving on to the next largest Camp Cretaceous, we've got the Spinosaurus figure from Camp Cretaceous with the tan coloring. It's got the super long snout and some really big front arms. You'll notice that the arms on a Spinosaurus are a lot larger than on a T-Rex figure. Look how much bigger it is on a Spinosaurus. Now let's go ahead and set this Spinosaurus next in line on the Camp Cretaceous line. Look at that size difference between the super colossal figure and this Spinosaurus. That is a huge difference. Next from Fallen Kingdom, I think the next biggest figure is the Grab and Growl Indoraptor figure. This figure features super long front arms. It's also got a long tail and 2 attack buttons on its tail. The first activates its claws for slashing back and forth, and the second button activates the jaw, and you can see that its eyes light up as well. That is really cool. Let's set this down next to the Battle Damage T-Rex. Going back to Camp Cretaceous, our next biggest dinosaur figure is this Carnotaurus figure. And let's check it out compared to the super colossal version way up there. Check out the color difference. This one's a lot darker brown. They both have the damage on their nose though, which is pretty cool. And this Carnotaurus has a button on its tail to activate its jaw too. From Fallen Kingdom, we actually have a Carnotaurus figure as well. This one is a little bit smaller compared to the Camp Cretaceous Carnotaurus. You can see the size difference right there, and the color difference as well. And this figure has a button on its back to activate its jaw and its neck as well. Next from Camp Cretaceous, we've got the Scorpios Rex figure. I think this is the largest Scorpios Rex figure that I have. It's got the yellow underbelly and the black sides and the darker black top. And this figure features some pretty cool attack buttons as well. One for the jaw and then one for slashing the arms too. Let's set this down next to the Carnotaurus. From the Fallen Kingdom toy line, we've got another Indoraptor figure that is slightly smaller than the Grab and Growl Indoraptor. It still has the same coloring and many of the same features, but this one doesn't have any attack buttons or anything like that, but it is super posable. From Camp Cretaceous, we've got an Albertosaurus figure with the green and orange coloring. This figure reminds me a lot of a T-Rex, but it's got some differences in some spikes on the top of its head, and I think the shape of this dinosaur's head is a little bit different than a T-Rex as well. So let's go ahead and put this on the Camp Cretaceous line right here, next in size. Next in size from Fallen Kingdom is the Suchomimus figure in the blue and yellow coloring. And it's got an action button on its back for the chomping or roaring action. This is a really colorful dinosaur. Let's put this right next to the Indoraptor figure. Next is the Camp Cretaceous Cryolophosaurus figure. This figure is also in a dark blue color, just like the Suchomimus, but it also has some orange along its back and its head as well. Next up is the Fallen Kingdom Allosaurus figure in the gray and yellow coloring. This figure features some cool detailing along the top of its head. It's got those really tall crown eyebrow-like things, and it's got an action button on its back for chomping its jaw open and shut. Let's set this down next to the Suchomimus. From Camp Cretaceous, we've got a Baryonyx figure in the two-toned green and the brown coloring along the top. This figure features a slide lever action to open and shut the jaw, along with a ton of different sound effects. Now let's put this on the Camp Cretaceous line. Here is the Fallen Kingdom Ceratosaurus figure. This figure has some red, yellow, and black on its body, and it features movable arms, legs, and a tail, and the button on its back to operate the jaw. For Camp Cretaceous, we've got another Baryonyx figure, also with the green and brown, but slightly different coloring. And this figure just has a button on its back to activate the jaw and the sound effects too. On the Fallen Kingdom side, we've got a Metriacanthosaurus figure. with this dark yellow and green coloring. This figure features movable arms and legs, and it has a button on the top of its back to activate the jaw. All right, that's looking good so far. Next, for Camp Cretaceous, we've got the reflective Parasaurolophus figure. This figure features some really cool coloring. Look how shiny and reflective that is. It also has a tail that moves the head around, and there are adjustable legs on both the back and the front as well. This is the Fallen Kingdom Stegosaurus figure. It's in a teal bluish color. It's also got the lighter underbelly. And this figure features a slashing attack with its tail when you press down on its spine right there. Let's set this down next in the Fallen Kingdom line. For Camp Cretaceous, we've got a Sinoceratops figure in the green, tan, and kind of a darkish orange color. It's also got some yellow eyes, and this figure features a tail that activates the neck so you can move it around, and the sound effects as well. For Fallen Kingdom, I believe that this is a Sinoceratops as well. It looks quite a bit different, it has some different coloring and some different horns on the front as well. And this figure features a button on its back that moves its head up and down. Here's another Sinoceratops figure, but this one is from Camp Cretaceous, and it's got some interesting coloring. The all black eyes, its body is mostly this light gray-blue coloring with some tan detailing all over as well. And this figure features the tail that you can use to move its neck around as well. On the Fallen Kingdom side, I've got another Triceratops figure in the clay orange coloring, and it's got brown detailing along the top. This figure features some huge horns on its face and an action button on its back for a slashing or a roaring action. And here is the last Triceratops of this video. This one is from Camp Cretaceous. It's got the brown and blue coloring, the huge horns in the front, and the tail that controls the head. Next in size for Fallen Kingdom is this Ankylosaurus figure. It's got the huge spikes coming out of its side, as well as the hard shell on top, and an action button along its back for swinging its tail back and forth. From Camp Cretaceous, we've got a Sarcosuchus figure with the purple, orange, red, and gray-blue coloring. This figure features a really long torso, a super long mouth, and some short stubby legs, as well as an action button on its tail to open and close the jaw and to move its head around too. Now we're getting down to the real small figures. This is the Velociraptor blue figure from Fallen Kingdom. And this features movable legs, arms, and you can open and close its mouth as well. I've also got a Velociraptor from Camp Cretaceous here. This one is a green with darker green striping. And this figure actually features an attack button on its back that moves its claws back and forth. Let's put it right there on the Camp Cretaceous line. For Fallen Kingdom, we've got a Stygimoloch figure with the orange and purple detailing. And this figure has an action with its tail used for headbutting. And let's put this right at the end of the Fallen Kingdom line. I've also got a Stygimoloch figure for Camp Cretaceous as well. This one also has the clay coloring with the purple detailing, but this one does not feature an attack button with its tail to move its head back and forth for headbutting. And the last Fallen Kingdom figure in this collection is this extreme battle damage Herrerasaurus. You can see that you can open and close it right there on the side. And for our final dinosaur is the Monolophosaurus from Camp Cretaceous. This figure features an action where you can move its tail to open and close its jaw. All right, there is our entire Camp Cretaceous versus Fallen Kingdom, biggest to smallest. Let's check out all these Camp Cretaceous figures from big to small. And our Fallen Kingdom from biggest to smallest. First up is the Camp Cretaceous Extreme Chompin' Spinosaurus. Let's open this up. All right, this is a huge figure. I have a few other Spinosauruses like this one. So the coloring's pretty realistic. It's not too crazy. It's brown on most of its body. It's got the red detailing on the spine, on the face. It's got those orange eyes. Its body is pretty adjustable. You can move the ankles, the legs, the tail, the arms. You can even adjust the neck like that, which is pretty cool. And it's got a button on the top of its head that you can use for chomping. Next up is the Camp Cretaceous Snap Squad Spinosaurus. This is a little one. You can still see that iconic spine right there. Let's open it up. As you can see, most of its limbs are pretty loose, so they actually just dangle there. And that is because you can snap this onto something and then it'll just dangle there. And just like the big Spinosaurus that we saw, this one has those dark orange eyes too. Let's check out our other Snap Squad figures. Next up is the Triceratops from the Snap Squad series. This figure is a dark red, kind of like a maroon color. It's got the yellow eyes and the yellow detailing right on the front. It's got the 3 horns, and just like the other, its legs are dangly, so that when you snap it onto something, its legs will dangle like that. And last but not least, the Snap Squad Carnotaurus, one of my favorite dinosaurs. Let's get this opened up. All right, here it is. This Carnotaurus has a lighter color than most of the Carnotaurus figures I have. You can see it's got a light brown and then dark brown on the top. But like all the other Carnotauruses I have, you can see it's got the battle damage right there on its nose. That's really cool. All right, let's put all these new figures on the shelf. Let's start with the Spinosaurus, right in the dead center of this empty shelf right here. These Spinosauruses are usually pretty hard to balance, but this one's working out. And let's snap these Snap Squad figures right next to the Spinosaurus. Gonna hang the Carnotaurus upside down, right on the shelf. This little Spinosaurus, I think I'll attach to the big one, right on its hand. And the Triceratops, where should we put that one? Ooh, I know. Let's hang it right on the banner right here. Ha, that's actually pretty cool. Let's fill up my shelves with the rest of these Camp Cretaceous figures. Let's start with this Ceratosaurus right here. This is gray and red mostly. You can see it's got some brown detailing on it, and it's got an action button for its jaws. That is really cool. Let's put it front and center right next to the Spinosaurus. Here we've got a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex. This is like a brown-orange color. You can see it's got a button on the top to control its jaw. And you can adjust the neck just like the Spinosaurus. And you can also adjust the rest of the limbs too. Let's put this one on this right shelf, right in the center. Next up, a huge Indominus Rex with battle damage on the side. This is the battle damage that you can turn on and off with the button. That is super cool. And still, the rest of the figure is pretty adjustable. You can adjust the legs and the arms and the neck too. And there's the action button on its tail to control its face. Let's put this Indominus Rex right next to the Spinosaurus, right in the middle. There we go. Here is another T-Rex. This T-Rex, when you move the tail, it controls the head. So it looks pretty realistic. This T-Rex is brown in color as well. You can see the browner stripe right along the top of its body and a light underbelly. There we go, 2 T-Rexes side by side. Here is a slightly smaller carnivore. This is the Carnotaurus. And just like the Snap Squad figure that we saw earlier, you can see that battle damage right on its nose. How cool is that? And it's pretty detailed on its body. You can see there's black specks all over its mostly red body with a lighter underbelly. So let's find a place for this on the shelf. Let's go over to this side right here. Put it right next to this Velociraptor. Here's another giant Indominus Rex, but check out the coloring on this. This is totally different than the gray one that we have over there. This is a custom colored one, so it's got blue, purple, orange, and black, plus those green eyes right there. That is really cool. Let's find a spot for this on the shelf. Let's put it on the other side of the Spinosaurus. All right, there it is. This first shelf is looking pretty full already. Check this one out. This is a gray and yellow Allosaurus, I believe. Look at that action button right on its back to control its jaw. This is pretty cool. And it's a fully adjustable body as well. Let's put these right next to the T-Rexes. Here is a T-Rex with a very special feature. With this action button, you can see that it has a tearing action. That is pretty unique. Not that many figures that I have do that. So let's find a place for this right next to the Carnotaurus. Here is an herbivore. This is a Triceratops. It's a red maroon color with brown detailing on the top. And it's got an action button that you can press to roar. Seems like the sound effects aren't really working right now. But this is a pretty detailed figure. Looks like a little discoloration on its leg right there. Or maybe that's intentional. I actually can't tell. Let's put this on this higher up shelf right here. And we've still got a few more T-Rexes in here. This one is a battle damage, just like the Indominus Rex that we saw earlier. And press the button to turn the battle damage on and off. And this T-Rex is fully posable, so when you open its mouth, it actually stays open. You don't have to press a button. Let's put this right next to this other Terran T-Rex right here. There we go, got a little more space. Here is, I believe, another Allosaurus. This Allosaurus, though, is yellow with blue coloring all over its body. You can see that there's two different tones of blue. Got the light blue and the dark blue. Plus the two action buttons on its back. One to control the jaw and one to control the arms. Let's put this right next to this other Allosaurus. All right, looking awesome. Here is a Baryonyx. This has probably one of my favorite colorings of the Baryonyx figures that I have. Two tones of green, got the dark green in the front and the bright green in the back. Got some yellow detailing and some red right next to its eyes. Let's put this right next to the Triceratops up top here. Here's a weird looking dinosaur. This is a Sarcophagus. It's got a dark purple, it's got some orange, got red, and then the rest of its body is like a blue-gray color. You can move all of its legs, and it's pretty adjustable actually, and you can move the tail to control the head. Let's put this right in between the Spinosaurus and the Indominus Rex. Oh, we've got another T-Rex right here. This T-Rex I don't think has battle damage or anything like that, so this is just a normal T-Rex. It's got the button on the top of its head for the roaring action. Let's put this T-Rex right next to the other T-Rexes. Here's an interesting looking herbivore. This is a Kentrosaurus. Check out those huge spikes right along its shoulders, as well as the spikes on its tail, just like a Stegosaurus. And this Kentrosaurus has a sliding action to swing those spikes back and forth. That is really cool. Let's put this right next to the Baryonyx up top right here. Here's another Baryonyx. This one has bright orange detailing right on the top of its head. The rest of its body is brown and a dark gray-blue color right along the top. Let's check out this action button too. Let's put it next to these T-Rexes and Carnotaurus right here. This dinosaur, I believe, is an Tyrannosaurus. It's pretty unique in its shape and color. Look at that bright blue right along its mouth. It's got some yellow on its spine, and it's got a light underbelly as well. Plus, this Tyrannosaurus has a slide action. All right, let's find a place for this. Let's put it right next to the sarcophagus, right up front. Here is another herbivore. This is a Sinoceratops. You can see it looks pretty similar to the Triceratops, but the big difference is in its horns and its face. Plus, it's got an action button on the back to control its head as well. Let's put this Sinoceratops right next to the Kentrosaurus, right up top. Here's another predator. This is a medium-sized figure, and this is the Metriacanthosaurus. It's got the action button on its back to control its jaw, and the rest of its body is like a yellow-green color and darker green along the top. Let's put this right in front of these T-Rexes right over here. Here's another predator. This is an Albertosaurus. This dinosaur has an all-green body with orange detailing right along its back, all the way up to its head. And this figure has the action button on its tail to control its jaw. Next up is a Ceratosaurus with dark green coloring and black detailing along its back. And this Ceratosaurus has the slide action to open and close its jaw in multiple degrees. Let's put this Ceratosaurus right next to the other one, right here. Next up, we've got another mighty Triceratops with a brown body and 2 tones of blue. You got the dark blue in the back and the light blue in the front. And with this Triceratops, you can actually control the head with the tail. You can twist it back and forth. It's kind of hard to do with one hand, but you can control its head. Let's put this Triceratops right next to the Sinoceratops. Here's a different looking dinosaur. This is the Suchomimus. It's got a super long and narrow snout. This dinosaur is blue and yellow in color, and it has one action button that you press to control the head. Let's put this Suchomimus next to, you know what? Let's put him on this lower shelf, right next to Godzilla. Over here, we've got a small little one. This is Ankylosaurus Bumpy. And as you can see, we've actually got a full-size Ankylosaurus with the same coloring as Bumpy. Let's check both of these out. So Bumpy's pretty small, doesn't have any action buttons, but you can adjust the head and the legs and the tail as well. But the adult one has an action on it. Let's check that out. Just like many of the other figures we've seen, this Ankylosaurus has a slide action on its back. And can you guess what that does? It swings its tail around. That is really cool. Let's put these Ankylosauruses right on the shelf. Check it out, it is another Carnotaurus. This one is more brightly colored than the other ones that we've seen. You can see all those bumps and spikes on its back. It's got the dark brown on the top, and it's like a red-orange on the sides and a gray underbelly. Let's put this Carnotaurus right next to these T-Rexes right over here. This is looking pretty awesome. This is like the carnivore shelf so far. Here we've got another Albertosaurus, but this one has battle damage. You can see it's got the stomach. It's actually pretty squishy. Then you can slide down the ribs and they click in place. And then you can actually cover it up all the way. Let's put this Albertosaurus right next to the other one. Here's another big figure. This is a Stegosaurus with a mostly green body and some brown and tan detailing. That is really cool. Let's put this Stegosaurus next to these Ankylosauruses down here. Alright, we've got even another Allosaurus with the slide action for its jaw. This figure is a dark green color all around its body, and it's got the light tan and red detailing right along its neck, and those red eyes too. Let's put this dinosaur next to this Indominus Rex, right in the front. Here is our last medium-sized dinosaur of the bin. This is a Baryonyx, and it's got green on the belly and sides, and then 2 tones of brown. Got the light brown in the back and the dark brown in the front, and more light brown right on top of its head too. Let's put this Baryonyx right next to this Baryonyx over here. All right, that shelf is just about full. Let's go ahead and grab these Velociraptors. I got 1, 2, and 3. Check out the different coloring on these. We've got a bright red and green Velociraptor. We've got a dark gray and yellow Velociraptor. And we've also got a bright orange, yellow, and brown Velociraptor. Let's put all of these Velociraptors together on this front shelf right here. Second one right here. And the third one right here. Right next to the Atrociraptor. Got some interesting looking smaller dinosaurs. I believe this is a Protoceratops. This one is a super light green on its side and the yellow detailing all over its body. Let's put this Protoceratops right here. Next up, we've got a dark red Minmi with spikes all over its top. Let's put this dinosaur right in the front, right in front of the Spinosaurus. Over here, we've got a Zuniceratops. It's got the 2 spikes in the front, and it's got a bright green body with the dark gray-blue coloring on the top, and all in the front, too. Let's put this Zuniceratops right in front of this Triceratops right here. Check out the spikes on this Sauropelta. It's got a bright red body along the top with brown on the bottom. Let's put this Sauropelta right in front of the Indominus Rex. I believe this dinosaur is a Monolophosaurus. This dinosaur has a light brown body with gray detailing on the top and on its feet too. Let's put this dinosaur right up top here next to the Pyroraptor. Here is a winged dinosaur with battle damage on its wing. That's interesting. This, I believe, is a Pteranodon. Let's put this Pteranodon on top of the Indominus Rex. I think it'll rest there really good. Just a few more dinosaurs left. This is a Tanystropheus. This dinosaur lives in the water. And this figure has an action. When you pull down on the tail, it moves its neck up and down. Let's put this dinosaur way over here next to the Triceratops. Here is another winged dinosaur. This is a Dimorphodon. This dinosaur has a shorter snout compared to the Pteranodon, and you can see that it's got some dark red or maroon coloring right on the underside of its wings. Let's put this flying dinosaur right up top. This T-Rex right here. Next up, we've got a bright green Dracorex with gray striping along the top of its body. It's got a bunch of horns on its head. You can adjust the neck, the head, the arms, and the legs. I think you can twist the tail too. Let's put this Dracorex right next to this Minmi. Here is a Stygimoloch. This dinosaur is a orange-red color along its body with darker detailing along all of its body. It's got the light underbelly, it's got the horns on its head, and of course the super hard head for headbutting. And our last dinosaur is a Gallimimus. This dinosaur is a light tan along its body. You can see it's got some striping on the top. Plus, it's got an action button to move the legs back and forth for running. Let's put this right next to the Stygimoloch up top here. Want to see more dino videos? Click the subscribe button now.